Welcome to Homegirl Knows Best. This show is about the people, the stories, and all the messy chaos in between. I'm your host, Jen Cameron. Let's get into it.
Why did you go back to the Instagram from Ballet Dude to your name again?
Oh no, I opened a new account.
Yeah.
Right? So
Yeah.
I opened a new account because I didn't want to lose the Jonathan Batista official.
Yes.
Right? And keep it that strictly ballet. But Ballet Dude is about everything that I am.
Mm-hmm.
Jonathan Batista, but also the Ballet Dude, because I will always be known for being a ballet dancer.
Yes.
Right? And can't get rid of that,
No.
so I embraced it.
No.
I embraced that I am a ballet dancer, but I also, it's not that I just like ballet. I love entertainment. And so I'm just like, you know what? I'll be that dude, because ballet dancers, they're very polite and, it's very wealthy and
Yes.
diva behavior and this and that. And, I'm from Brazil, I'm American and I'm South American as well. So I'm just like, I need to embrace all of this. I love theater. I love people. I love music. I love to dance. And I love TV and entertainment. So that's who the Ballet Dude is.
You are all those multiple personalities.
Oh, yes. And I love it, and I love it because, like I said to you before, I took a break from dating, right? And it's been a year now. And I did that because I wanted to attract just great energy and also get to know myself a little bit better, and to the totality of who I am and knowing myself best, like knowing my fears, my shame, and things that I wanted to take care of and things that I wanted to discover about myself. And, taking this time off from dating, I was just like, now I understand what confidence looks like and it feels like. Right? Because whenever I fear something, I just look on the face of fear and I'm just like, whatever, you're good.
Yeah.
Or if I feel ashamed of what? This is who I am. I'm good.
We're just like, honest to God, just get into it.
Hey.
That's like, I have never started a conversation with you that is just like fluff, air conversation. We just get there. We just start a conversation and it just meanders.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I love that about us.
I love that about us too. And I love that whenever we met, maybe a year ago, we had 2 years ago.
2 years ago, a year and a half ago, maybe.
No, maybe it's 2. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's been 2 already.
You know what? 2022, we launched the agency, getting closer to 23, because we're now 2025. It had to be somewhere in there. It's been 2 years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Should we talk about how we met?
Let's do it.
Okay. So we got to know each other on Instagram. Okay.
Yep.
Somewhere in here, I'm probably going to have to introduce you, Jonathan Batista, principal dancer of the Pacific Northwest Ballet, and a million other things. But we became Instagram friends, but not really friends. You like some of my things. I definitely like all your things. There's a little bit of a thing there. I don't know if I ever told you this, but I had back surgery and we were launching our art night, the Art That Gives Back. It's our annual charity. We raise funds, we bring in artists, and then we go out and give that money to Get Back Homes and have a build day to provide housing for a family in need. And this was huge because where the agency brokerage really was just a baby. And here we were going out to the public for the first time. We were going to have this event. I get sidelined with my back surgery and I'm home in bed knowing this event's coming and just panicking. How are we going to make this successful? And how do we really get out there in society? And how do we bring Seattle to the east side, right?
Right.
And you're on my Instagram, and I was probably higher than a kite. I was on pain meds at that point. I'm in bed, and I just was like, I'm going to invite him. And I sent you an Instagram, and I said, you look like you have a giving heart, and I'm having this event, and we've never met, but I'd love to invite you. You said, I'll be there.
Yeah.
And then I thought, maybe he shows, maybe he doesn't. And my daughter's a fan.
Yeah.
She's literally
Love
probably
Jordan.
your number one fan. And she kept saying, Mom, do you think he'll come? I said, I don't know. And then you came in and there you were. And then We became great friends.
Absolutely.
And the next year, we were meeting up for champagne, actually.
Yes.
And I was thinking, I wonder if I should ask Jonathan if he'd like to get involved with the next art night that we're doing. And we're sitting there and you said, you know what? I'd really like to get involved this year. And I was like, yes, let's do it.
Yeah.
And so I guess, you probably get so many asks, Jonathan, will you do this? Jonathan, will you sponsor this? Jonathan, will you show up for this? I'm sure, tons and tons. But you showed up and you came and you gave. And my question is, why is giving back so important to you?
Oh, wow. First of all, I had a great time. Always you are a great time. And I had a great time with the people, with the community in Kirkland. And, being new to Seattle still, for me, it was just important to be with people from a different neighborhood. And I love Kirkland. I mean, as beautiful as it is. And the people from Kirkland, there are a lot of Brazilians here.
Really?
There's a huge Brazilian community in Kirkland.
Okay.
And so I love that we did that. I love that we revisited and then talked about me being involved with the organization and the fundraiser that was this past year. And it was beautiful too.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm really grateful for that. Giving back for me, it's really important because I'm very blessed. I was that one kid that grew up in Brazil and in a little neighborhood in Rio de Janeiro that, was trying to figure out what my talents were. My parents were trying to do that actually. So, I went from soccer to martial arts, judo, jiu-jitsu, capoeira, to jewelry, to music, piano, guitar, soccer, of course, like every boy in Brazil, to one day in dance. Right. And ballet had always been very, very expensive. It is an investment. I would say a high cost investment for those who want to pursue dance, especially in Brazil. And I remember getting my first scholarship, and the community was the one who poured into me and believed in my talent when I didn't even know what talent was or what talent I had. And so when it was time for me to leave Brazil, I got a scholarship to go to Miami City Ballet. I went to the summer intensive, came back, got one of the biggest scholarships ever to study at English National Ballet School in London in the UK, and also a scholarship for Cambridge University with Trinity College. And so I'm getting ready to leave, and we don't have the financial means to do that, right? And guess what? The community once again got together and said, here's your initial kick, boom. And so that stays with me. I got my initial kick because of the community. So once I was able to also build myself, it just made sense for me. I felt it in my heart that it was time for me to start building people and communities and pouring into people. And it's been the greatest gift ever, and also that brought me a lot of great people. You, friends in the Brazilian community, friends in the ballet world, and people who really wanted to get together for a greater cause. And so I knew that was one of my callings as well. And I have fun with it, to be very honest, because I love people. I love being around people and making friends and getting to know new people and so on and so on. So when you asked me about it, I said, oh, that's the community I want to get into and, and be there for the community. And, and we have a great relationship. I have a great relationship with Kirkland.
You have a great relationship with the Seattle area. And it's interesting. There's so many questions I have just kind of about like your younger years. You have talked about how your mom and your parents just really wanted you to try everything. Like, try this, try this, try this. And they had you so busy experiencing all these things. But where was the time when you decided that ballet was the thing out of all those things?
Yeah. Oh, that's a good question. I don't think I had that moment where I said, I'm choosing this. Sometimes I think that ballet chose me because I was doing all of these activities that I thought, oh, this is a lot of fun, right? But I lacked one thing, and I think I lacked discipline. And that's when ballet came in, because I started dancing with, I started with ballroom dancing. And then I went to theater, and then the sports and martial arts. And then someone noticed something and said, okay, you need to go to dance classes. So what we thought was ballet, it was actually jazz classes.
Wow.
Which its structure, its base and foundation is still classical ballet. And I started tapping and etc. And one day someone noticed me again and said, you need to go to a better school, right? That will prepare you for a professional school or professional ballet company in the future. And so my parents paid attention to that. And that's how I started ballet, and things started going. Oh, I used to come into class 45 minutes late. I didn't want to do ballet. I didn't want to wear tights. I didn't want anything to do with it until I had my first international trip to Argentina. And I get to Argentina and I get to experience a different culture, different people, different language. And that's when I started to fall in love with what I was doing. And I think now looking back, I think, oh, so I fell in love with the idea of what it means to build a community, even outside of mine, right? I'm Brazilian, they're Argentinians, and I'm thinking, wow, I love this. I'm learning a new language. I'm learning about people's culture, how they behave, what's important to them, and how to respect it, how to also appreciate it, and et cetera, and have that in return. And then when I got to Brazil, I was just like, oh my God, I learned Spanish. What's next? And that just led one thing to another. And
ballet chose you.
And I felt like ballet chose me. Yeah. And then I started dreaming about becoming a ballet dancer, right? Which is very important to every kid. For every kid who wants to become something, I feel like the first step is to really start dreaming. I dream about becoming so and so. And when I got to England, I saw, the first black man in white tights doing a prince role. And I said, I want to be just like him. And little did I know that would be so influential, maybe 15 years later, me being this black prince with the Pacific Northwest Ballet and becoming a principal dancer. It's just like, wow.
So what year was it that you became a principal dancer with the Pacific Northwest Ballet?
2022.
2022.
Yes.
And how far into your career were you then?
Oh, I think I've had probably about 10 years.
Okay, so you studied where?
English National Ballet School.
Okay, and then you danced. Where all have you danced?
Oh my. Are you ready for this?
Yes.
Buckle up.
Tell us where you danced and what positions you held in those spaces.
Yes, so when I left England, I had a possibility to join the Royal Ballet, but I broke my foot. And so that's when I moved to Miami to join the Miami City Ballet. And I stayed there as a school apprentice. I got promoted to company apprentice. And then I moved to Canada to dance with the National Ballet of Canada, one of the most wonderful ballet companies I've ever seen. Classical, wow. Beautiful, beautiful company. From there, I came back to the United States and I was invited to join Boston Ballet. I was a quarter ballet for 2 years. And with Boston Ballet, I had the opportunity to have great opportunities to perform soloists and principal roles.
Okay.
Which was amazing, right? I was about 19, 20 back in the day and back then. And from there, I wanted more. I wanted the promotion. I wanted more. My talent, I was so hungry and I had a lot of fire. And I said, you know what? I'm going to do this career completely different, because usually dancers, a traditional career as a ballet dancer, you join a ballet company and you stay there for 10, 15, 20 years and you retire, they celebrate your career, and this is it.
That's it?
I didn't
the
do
end
that.
of it?
Yeah, and the end of it. I didn't do that. I knew that my career wasn't going to be the same. You know, I am a Black man, and it was different to navigate in those spaces because for quite some time, it felt like I was a pioneer in those spaces, right? And so they actually didn't know what to do with me. So I couldn't do certain roles in big ballets such as Sleeping Beauty or Swan Lake, and et cetera, et cetera. So from there, from Boston, I moved to Cincinnati as a soloist.
Okay.
And I took my journey a little bit more entrepreneurial, right? I built my resume. I understood how to do it, how to use the best opportunities that I've had to create another opportunity. And then from Cincinnati, I moved to Milwaukee Ballet as a principal dancer. Now, with Boston Ballet, I stayed 2 years, and all the other companies stayed for 1 year. And from Milwaukee, I went to Oklahoma City Ballet. And I stayed with them for 4 years. And I tell you, I loved Oklahoma City.
What did you love about Oklahoma?
The community. People were really about people in Oklahoma City. And I know that politically is something else, but we were really together. We really understood how to make our communities better, especially with the Latino community in Oklahoma City. And so I loved that about them. You know, we would fundraise for schools, for dance schools, for the arts community, arts organizations. It was just phenomenal what they did with that community. And it continues to grow right now. And I truly believe it's because they were really together and making sure that.
So when you talk about community in Oklahoma, you're talking about people who vote differently from one another, people who look differently from one another, coming together as a community.
Yes.
In spite of those
Oh,
differences.
absolutely. Yes.
That's kind of not the current climate that we're living in right now.
Absolutely not, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Unfortunately. And
what do you think it was about that community, though? Like, what did they do differently? Because right now it feels like everybody says you're either this or that. If you're on this side, then forget about this side. And if you're on this side, this. So how are they building that bridge? How were they?
Yes. Well, I haven't been to Oklahoma City in 4 years, but back then, one thing I learned about living in different spaces with, political differences and et cetera, for me, it was, I'm the one who's going to make the difference. In times like these, it's time for us to stand up, use our voices, use our position to make our space better. And that influences different spaces. And then, it grows. It continues to grow until we're able to make more changes. And that's on us to continue to do that. I don't believe that in Oklahoma City, the Latinos that I was involved with, I don't even believe they were Republicans. I don't think they were Trump voters, to be very honest. I just think that we would just focus on the change. We were focused on making things better. We were focused on continue to build our community. Whatever need we had, we addressed that. And so I started navigating my life that way, in the same capacity. This is the time. And that's what I talked to the Brazilian community here about. I said, this is the time that we get together. This is the time that we influence our spaces, whether you're white, you're Black, you're American, you're a foreigner, you're an immigrant, and et cetera, et cetera. That's when we do the work. Mm-hmm. That's when we look at each other and we know that we have one another. And we make sure that we do that. That was my experience in Oklahoma City. And then I came here.
You brought it forward to Seattle. It's when we, I thought about doing this podcast and how would I shape it? What would it look like? And one of the things was, we're not going to not talk about politics. We're not going to, filter people from talking about their experiences, but we're not going to be divisive. We talk about building bridges. You met Corey Bennett at Art Night. He's such an amazing, talented artist. And, one of his, missions in life is about building bridges between people and just caring about people.
Fantastic.
Right?
What a legacy.
Yeah.
Right? So you build a wonderful legacy and then people are just able to continue to connect the dots.
Yeah.
Right? And make it better.
That's what I want to fill my world with, is people that are committed to making it better. Okay, so you come to Seattle,
Yes.
and at this time you were a soloist.
I was
correct?
a soloist.
Okay, so
Yes.
the ranking in ballet goes from...
So apprentice, you join the company, even though, yes, you are full-time. And then corps de ballet, which is entry. And let me tell you, once you get to corps de ballet, it's not guaranteed that you get to soloist or principal dancer. You know, you might retire as a corps de ballet in your whole career, or soloist or principal dancer as well. So it's corps, soloist, and principal being the top of the ranks.
Okay, so you come in as a soloist.
Yes.
And you were here for how long before you were promoted to principal?
Officially, a full year.
Okay, so about a year.
Yes.
And I remember the headlines everywhere, all over the news. Jonathan Batista, first Black principal dancer of the Pacific Northwest, 50-year history.
Yes.
Everywhere.
Right.
And a beautiful image of you leaping that was featured in Brazil.
Yes.
You could feel from that photo the passion, the pride that your country felt.
Oh, yeah.
But with this amount of attention, I could imagine comes a lot of things. First of all, from what I understand from our conversations, you didn't realize when you were promoted to principal that you were the first Black principal dancer in the Pacific Northwest history. Is that correct?
Correct. Yeah, I had no idea. I actually had listed who I believed was the first. And it was actually my PR from Brazil who asked, you know, we had the promotion I already knew, and it was going to be shared with the audience. And so my PR called me and said, look, the journalists are asking for, if you are the first Black principal dancer in the company's history. And I said, well, I don't believe so, but let me ask. And so I asked the company, and it took a week for them to get back to me, because, you know, we had to go through the historians and the archives and, you know, all of the, how do you do the surveys, right? Of, you know, if you're Latino, if you're Black, or whatever it is. And so, yeah, I got an email a week later, and they say, congratulations, here are the list of Black dancers and people who are identified as Black with the Pacific Northwest Ballet. And they said, congratulations, you are indeed the first. And I was actually really scared.
You were?
To share that. It is a big commitment and responsibility. The same time that I was scared, it was the same time that I was excited, because now we continue to break the ceiling, we continue to build a legacy. And even though I was happy to be the first, I was asking myself, 50 years? Really? I'm a firm believer that when it comes to Black talent, I'm not alone. You know, I grew up watching also Black talent such as Carlos Acosta or, you know, Arthur Mitchell in DVDs, Brooklyn Mack, who was the first Black man I ever watched on a tape. I actually got to dance with him in New York a few weeks ago. And so they told me that. I shared with them, and the night of the promotion, they had to deliver the news to Brazil in the morning. It was a Friday. And so they delivered at 5 a.m. My phone starts ringing, and I tell people, please do not share. You know, it's already out.
And what's the time difference?
Oh, 4 hours.
Okay.
Yes. And so it was 9 a.m. in Brazil, 5 a.m. here. And I talked to the people. I say, look, please do not share. Do not put it on social media. And then it was announced here by, I think, 7:30 p.m. I finished performing Allegro Brilliant, and I'm called to the front of the curtains. And Peter Bow, the artistic director, announces my promotion to principal dancer. And from there on, it was literally 48 hours, no sleep.
What is that amount of attention coming at you feel like at one time?
Well, at first it's great. At first, I was like, oh, I'm having fun with it. But it's also responsibility. You know, it's a lot of responsibility because now I'm in the eye of the public, you know, and have a responsibility on being myself. Of course, that's number one. And I will always honor who I am. But there's a certain commitment to it. And I wanted to take on that commitment because it wasn't just a win for me. It was a community win, really. You know, we were conquering this space that for so long, it was just one Black person, or one Black male dancer, one Black female dancer. And now you have a Black principal dancer. And I had a lot of the previous Black dancers from 40, 30, 50 years ago contact me and say, we've been waiting for this day.
Wow.
Yes. And that was very fulfilling. And I think that, you know, looking back into the history of Pacific Northwest Ballet, and we have a powerful Black legacy that came from its first Black dancer ever, which is Mr. Cabby Mitchell III. And he's no longer with us. I wish I had met him, had known him. But he was a man of his community. And, you know, people loved him here. He was really about the community. He was also the co-founder of TUPAC, the Tacoma Urban Performing Arts Center, which I support them as well. I support them. I've been there. I love them. I love what they do. And I'm a firm believer that Cabby Mitchell III was the one who opened the doors for me. You know, his legacy was already there. We just had to step in and honor that legacy. And now we are continuing that legacy, and as I build my own as well, with many Black dancers that are at Pacific Northwest Ballet right now.
I love when you say we. This was your moment, but you're saying we. And I can only imagine you're out there, you're the face, you're getting the attention, but behind the scenes, there had to be some jealousy.
Oh, absolutely. Oh my goodness. I remember someone walked up to me and said, because here's what happened too. This was all happening in Brazil, but nothing happened in the United States of America. And I said, this is quite something. You know, where's the Dance Magazine article or the cover, right? They had the first Brazilian of New York City Ballet cover. They had the first Chinese of New York City Ballet cover. And I that was the only thing I expected. And I said, oh, that's
like, I'm going to be on the cover of the
magazine. Nope. Not happening, sir. They reached out to me and said, we would like to know about your routine. I was like, routine? You know, and I didn't say no because, you know, it's information for the next generation, for dancers, you know, to make their careers, journeys better. So I said, yeah, I'll do the journey thing. But I talked to my director. I went into his office and I said, what's happening? And he told me, he said, you know, Jonathan, I just don't want people to really think that we promoted you because you're Black. And I said, look, thank you. That's awesome. However, this is not about me. This is about the community. It's been 50 years, you know? And so we need this out. Whatever, talk to PR at Pacific Northwest Ballet, whatever. Nothing happened. And I said, you know what? I remember during COVID when the protests were happening and I did a live and I said to people, I said, you know, especially during George Floyd's protests as well, I said, we need to be the voice that we want to hear. And I needed to be that one voice for myself. That was the moment. And so what I did, I wrote my first article myself. wrote my first article myself, and I sent it out to a lot of journalists. 2 of them picked up. So one called me right away and said, look, we've been trying to contact you, but we don't hear back from Pacific Northwest Ballet. I said, no worries, we're moving on. You heard from me now. So they said, we're going to post it. So they post it, and I posted. They posted on their page, their website. And so I cut it, posted on my Instagram, and then I share it with Misty Copeland. Misty Copeland is the first Black principal ballerina with the American Ballet Theater. I mean, it's, let's say, 75 years of history.
And she was told that she would never be a great ballerina because of her body type.
Right, exactly.
Yes.
And she continues to beat the odds. And so, and I'm thinking, she's got like 1.8 million followers. She's not going to pick up.
Yeah.
And little did I know, I put my phone down and I'm doing my thing. I'm home cooking. I don't even know what I was doing. And my phone starts buzzing. I mean, it's crazy. I don't know what's going on. And I don't even have notifications on like that. I have for text messages and calls. And someone wrote to me, Misty Copeland, huh? And so I go directly to her messages and she says, Jonathan, that's fantastic. Congratulations on your accomplishment. And then she posted that. Once Misty posted that article, oh my goodness, that's when my story unleashed. It was Ebony magazine and what is it called? Ebony Essence, and then the TV and stuff, and I was really grateful for her. And then it ended up being bigger than I actually expected. And it brings me to this idea of, continue to do you.
Yeah.
Continue to believe in your dreams. Continue to do the work. Continue to apply for excellence, that whatever needs to be will be, literally. And I believed in that. So when somebody came to me, and said, I had 3 weeks of camera following me for a little bit, and said, hey, when are the cameras going to stop? I just said, hey, God started, God is going to have to stop. I said, it's not with me. You got to complain with the guy upstairs,
Oh my gosh.
God did it.
Thinking about Misty, I'm like, oh my God. Okay, what happened from her posting that one thing is cool. It just leveraged it, put it out there, and it created momentum. But to me, the moment is like her acknowledging your achievement. That's a moment in itself because she's incredible.
Yes.
So
yes.
Those people, right? Like I kind of sometimes, they're not villains. I always want to say they play a part in your story. There's something in you shining, and that jealousy is usually not even real jealousy. It's fear, or it's how dare you shine brighter than me, or something where they don't want that for you, right?
Right.
Like, no,
yeah.
I want to hold you back. I got to give you a comment or say something where you take what I just gave you, and I want you to feel a little smaller.
Absolutely.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. I learned in one of the musics that I listened to that jealousy is love and hate at the same time.
Oh.
And also, it really tells you who are the people, who they are for you.
Yeah.
Right? And how they see you. Right? And I think that gave me the opportunity to really find my people, right? In Seattle. Find great people around me, build my entourage, and be able to be myself, and be able to get to know who I am, be able to make my mistakes, be able to fail, be able to also, regain my strength, and then go out there and win, and go out there and do whatever it is that I want to do. right? So I see them. I totally see them, but I see, and I think that, I'm an open book, but not everyone has the privilege to touch that book because you need to protect your space.
Yeah.
And I learned that. I learned to protect my space. I have my friends, I have people with me, and they're giving me the absolutely best, and I'm giving them my best, my all, and we're building community, we're building each other. And once you apply for growth, let me tell you something. Oh, gosh. You apply for growth, it's amazing, but everyone's going to reveal themselves, and only time will tell.
Mm-hmm.
If they're going to be there to support you, they're going to be jealous. One thing is just like be inspired. Do the same. I have friends that they're fantastic. I mean, they continue to build. They're out there winning on their own rights, and it just inspires me to do more.
Yeah.
What if we did more and we build each other, and that's it?
We're going to take a pause right here, but we'll be back in 2 weeks on September 2nd with part 2 of our series with Jonathan Batista on Homegirl Knows Best. Stay tuned because you won't want to miss it.
If you've made it this far, thanks for listening, and thanks to my guest. Make sure that you like, follow, and subscribe so you don't miss the next one. See ya!